guys, I am Dr. Anushruti and I'm back with an amazing episode. Physical therapy and yoga. Oh my god, I know these two terms are often misconcepted as the same. People out there have so many doubt and confusions regarding this. So to clear the air, today on board, I have Dr. Ariel Foster, who is a beautiful woman, doctor of physical therapy, and a yoga instructor. She is joining us live directly from Washington, D.C. Hello, Dr. Ariel, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Dr. Anushruti.
Thank you so much. Well, tell me what exactly is physical therapy and what exactly is yoga? Like, this is the question of the hour, and everyone wants to know.
So your audience is probably familiar with what physical therapy is, but one of the things that I think physical therapy is we really are, as physical therapists or physiotherapists, those of us who specialize in musculoskeletal conditions, because there are physical therapists who specialize in other parts of the body, or other systems of the body. But those of us who specialize in orthopedics, musculoskeletal systems, we really are the experts in movement out there. I don't know of a single degree of the caliber of the doctor of physical therapy degree that focuses on movement excellence, movement optimization, the way that our degree in our profession does.
So, I mean,
Yeah, and then I can talk about yoga.
okay. So, when should a person actually, take yoga classes, and when should a person consult a doctor or physical therapist?
Well, I don't think there's any should take yoga classes. I think that it depends on so many factors. The way that yoga in my city in Washington, D.C. is very often taught as either a fitness regimen or a stretching regimen. And occasionally it's taught as a spiritual practice. And those will serve different individuals at different times in their lives, depending on what they need. But I have never seen a single class or a series of classes that really encompasses more of the root of what is yoga outside of the ashram setting in the United States. So I think that what comes down to the normal everyday consumer is just the tiniest sliver of yoga. And when you take out just one little thread of it, sometimes you do pull on the whole thing like a cobweb, but sometimes you just get a very narrow vision of what yoga is or is not. Does that make sense?
It does. Yoga
Yeah.
is originated originally from India, my country.
Yes.
So here, people, they blindly follow yoga if they are actively, doing it. Otherwise, they do not follow any exercise. If they are exercising, that means somehow or somewhere they're actually practicing yoga. We have a lot of celebrities and politicians, so many, esteemed personalities who follow yoga as a lifestyle practice to keep themselves healthy, fit. But here in India, we have also seen a lot of yoga gurus, who say that a lot of ailments, a lot of injuries can be healed by yoga. Yoga is to heal. So, what are your takes? Like, is yoga actually that capable of replacing physical therapy? Can we say that's
You
going to
are
be
going
controversial,
right
by
into
the way?
the heart. You're going right into the heart of it. No, I don't think yoga replaces physical therapy, period, full stop. It does not. It is, that to say that would be a disrespect, I believe, to the actual original teachings of yoga, which have nothing to do with evidence-based medicine, nothing to do with being frozen in time, saying you have to do this same thing forever and ever. Quite the opposite. One of the tenets of yoga, to my understanding, and there's a lot of people who are more expert than me, but I have been teaching and studying yoga for more than 2 decades, 2.5 decades or more. One of the tenets is a concept called viveka, and forgive me if I have pronounced that wrong, viveka. So when you are practicing this kind of discernment, which is what that word means, it is a discernment that you can apply to your physical well-being. So I'm a woman in my 40s, and I can discern based on the evidence, the scientific evidence around me, that it would be healthy for me to pick up weights on a regular basis. And when we think of weight training in the United States, we don't think of that as yoga, but it could be the most, quote, yogic thing to help facilitate my transition into middle age, my transition into the second half of my life with stronger bones, stronger muscles, stronger metabolism. And there's nothing in the root of yoga that contradicts thoughtful experience and presence and allowing evolution to take place. So what we're talking about very often when we talk about yoga is what's happening in yoga classes. So yoga classes are often these physical practices where you go into a series of poses. You might originate around the sun salutation, and that can be profoundly healing for many people on the physical level. And for someone who does not have a lot of movement in their life, that might be enough to take them out of pain. Or for someone whose movement has been very athletic and they've never slowed down and they've never done anything more mindful, that can be really, really therapeutic. But there's no guarantee. And there are two reasons why there's no guarantee. One, because every single individual would need to be evaluated for what their precise needs are. That's what we do as physical therapists, right? We begin with a profoundly, full as we can, given the time constraints, evaluation, period. And that's one of the big missing things. If you go see a personal trainer, if you go see a yoga teacher, if you go see someone who calls themselves a yoga therapist, very often the level of evidence that they have for the type of evaluation they're doing is going to be less than our doctorate of physical therapy degree that has rooted us in evidence-based medicine, where we're truly looking at the biopsychosocial factors, including their lifestyle, and looking at the evidence for any sort of intervention or even evaluation that we do. So no, I don't think yoga is a replacement for physical therapy. And in fact, I think to say something like that, although very well intentioned, because yoga has been profoundly helpful for many people, including myself, unfortunately, to say that actually inadvertently dismisses and diminishes the true root of what yoga is, which is much more expansive than the physical body. I hope that makes sense.
It does. It absolutely. Well, you just talked about weight training. Now,
Yeah.
weightlifting, weight training, is just in the air right now. Everyone is so much fascinated about it, especially women. So,
Yeah.
half of the population says that weightlifting is necessary to stay fit, and weightlifting, every man and women should do that. But on the contrary, we do have another half of the population which says that weightlifting is specifically bad or wrong for women out there. It harms the uterus, it harms some internal organs. So, my audience, including me, want to know what exactly is the truth.
Well, when you're looking at something from a scientific lens, one of the first sort of filters that you would look at a claim from. So let's say bananas are terrible for you or something like that. Let's say somebody decides that bananas are terrible for you. You can look at that through, the first filter you're going to look at that through is the filter of plausibility. So millions of humans all over the world eat a banana every single day or at least once a week. And so far, we have, as a species, just gotten bigger and bigger. And now there are billions and billions of us, despite the fact that many of us eat bananas all the time. So there's a lack of plausibility that bananas are universally bad. When you say something like weight training is bad for the internal organs, and we apply that through that very first filter, not even that evidence-based lens necessarily, but that very first filter of what's called plausibility, then it's not highly plausible. Because think about it, women have been picking up babies, and when I was born, I was, I don't know, 7 pounds or something, 6.5, and that's not no weight. And very quickly I was 12 pounds, 14, 20, 50. And guess what? My mother still picked me up. My father still picked me up as an infant, as a toddler, and maybe into early childhood, and then they said no more. So that is weight training. If you have ever lifted a pan in the kitchen and cleaned it, that's weight training. If it has soup in it, it's heavy. If it has dal in it, it's heavy. If you have ever moved a chair around, that's weight training. So I think that the plausibility that this is going to be hard on your organs it just doesn't make any sense, because just to get through life, especially our ancestors had to pick up heavy things and put them down. I mean, even water, you look all over the world and water is quite heavy, right? A gallon of water is not a light thing. And women, men, people of all genders, non-conforming genders, we're all carrying water unless you have pipes bringing it to you. So every one of our ancestors got here. We got here because we lifted heavy things, and our ancestors lifted heavy things. So unfortunately, that idea that weight training is terrible for you does not pass the plausibility metric, and that's just the first layer. And every piece of evidence I have seen, I don't have to be here to be an advocate for weight training, because that's not even my specialty, but it is something I'm engaged in personally. And the reality is that it is every single piece of evidence I've seen, it shows that it's good for your bones, it's good for your metabolism, your muscles, it's good for anti-aging effects, it's for so many things.
As
I
the doctors
think,
of physical therapy, I
go for
believe
it.
it is our duty, to clear the air and to, just throw away all these rubbish facts about every other exercise, every other yoga poses. So, rightly answered. Well, moving on, doctor, what do you think? Like, why, actually, not why, but is it important? Is it necessary for every human being to know about his anatomy, to
Hmm.
understand his anatomy? Because we know, we are very much clear about the fact that a lot of people out there do not know how many bones do have, or where their stomach is, where their pancreas, what is this, or what, they just know that body parts thing, which we learn in the lower classes, nursery, pre-nursery, that okay, this is eyes, sense organs, nose, mouth, ear. Do you feel that it is very necessary and important for people to understand their anatomy?
That's a good question. I look around the city that I live in. I live in Washington, D.C., and I don't understand how roads work. I don't understand civil engineering. I don't understand how all the water that flushes down my drains goes. I don't really understand the deep mechanics of this. And somehow I get by. Somehow I understand enough to make sense of things. I don't think people need to know deep anatomy unless you're teaching movement, then it's incredibly, incredibly helpful. I think I think people need to know CPR and basic life support.
Oh my god, that's so true. That's so
That's
true.
what people
Every
need.
school should teach that. That is so true and so necessary.
It'd be so
So,
incredible if I taught that in the teenage years in school.
it is genuinely very necessary. Here in India we do lack this setting of teaching CPR in schools, these basic
Yeah.
life supports, emergency care, first aid things. So mock drills of earthquake are a good thing, but on the other hand, mock drills for such things are, definitely lies on the equal path. I mean, that is
Yeah.
absolutely the need of the hour. And you just gave me an idea of another podcast episode. Thank you so much. Well, moving on, last
Absolutely.
but not the least, Dr. Ariel, how has been your journey as a doctor of physical therapy and as a yoga instructor? Like, what changes did it make to your lifestyle, your life, your profession? What has been your experience?
Sure. So we're speaking in 2023. I have been a physical therapist. I graduated and got my license in 2011. And I was very deep in the yoga world before and in the first few years of after I graduated. I had lived in an ashram, I had studied under a lot of different styles, and I was really, really dedicated. My grandmother taught yoga, and I had I had a deep commitment to this idea of yoga, particularly asana. And what happened was school kind of gave me superpowers because knowing everything I knew about the body, I came out of school and I was able to teach people to go into these really extraordinary, sometimes very extreme shapes. I was able to get my body into some of these extreme shapes. And I was using the things that I knew from physical therapy to open doors to things in my body that I didn't think were possible. And then I started to experience more and more discomfort and pain. And I think that a lot of that had to do with the extreme poses that I was teaching. And I think sometimes poses that seem very mundane, very ordinary in yoga are actually, when you know the anatomy, and like I said, not everybody has to know the anatomy, but if you just put it through that common sense filter of plausibility, you can see how things are a little extreme, even in a very mundane pose like Virabhadrasana 1 or Virabhadrasana 2 is what I was thinking of. So Warrior 2 pose. If you were to get rigid about it, keep your front thigh at parallel to the floor, 90 degrees in your front knee, stack your ribs over your pelvis. You're actually putting the hips in a really extreme position, not terribly different from the splits. The big difference with the splits is not necessarily the joints are much more extreme because it's just as extreme as Warrior 2, very similar. It's that your muscles have more pliability in the splits or Hanumanasana. And so when I started to experience pain, I thought like, oh my God, maybe not all yoga is good yoga. Maybe some of this is really reinforcing this idea that I have to be pushing myself all the time, that I have to be pushing myself in these ways that are not particularly useful for my life, that don't have really good evidence for it. And so since that time, I have become more and more fascinated by the roots of yoga, more and more fascinated by the principles behind a lot of it, and just this idea of bringing mindfulness into every movement that we do, no matter what it is, lifting up a child, carrying a bag, walking. I'm a huge fan of walking as a simple health maintenance and mindfulness exercise, and uncomplicating the world of yoga and bringing it more into our everyday lives, like really the essence of it that is the most universally helpful for all people for all time.
That's the beauty of this, the total beauty. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ariel, for joining in and taking out time from your schedule to speak to us. I believe you enjoyed the episode, and by this, we have come to the end of the episode. But I know that you guys really want to hear a lot from Dr. Ariel. So, Dr. Ariel, I do hope to collaborate with you very soon again.
It was a delight. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for opening this platform. And it's my honor to be here.
Thank you so much. Well, as physical therapy and yoga both say, straighten your back, drink a glass of water, and move. We'll meet in the next episode. Till then, goodbye. Take care.